Hello everyone, Russ of Aquariumax here. People are often curious about how a bioactive vivarium changes over time. So today I'm going to give an update on our Leopard Gecko Vivarium about 7 months after we set it up. So first let's address heating. Now some people, when they see an enclosure of this style for a leopard gecko with the heat mat on the side of the enclosure, worry that the gecko is not able to get the proper belly heat. But it appears with this style of enclosure, where the hide is right up against the glass, that the gecko is able to maneuver her body so that she gets all the belly heat she needs. We see her cozied up against the back of the little cork bark hide there, where she can access the heat of that of the under tank heater, and she seems to do fine. And it's 7 months into it and she hasn't had any digestive problems whatsoever. Some people wonder about the humidity. How are we able to maintain the proper humidity gradients for a desert animal? Well, this substrate seems to do the job admirably. The surface is always dry to the touch. Shortly after we water it, it has absorbed the liquid, and lower down, just as in nature, there's a higher humidity in that area. So these two hides, this one here, the warm hide, and this cool hide, seem to provide the proper humidity gradient, and she has had zero problems with shedding since we moved her into this enclosure. Something that we can't say for the earlier enclosure that we had her in on a non-naturalistic substrate, despite providing a humid hide. Now, one issue that I kind of have with this enclosure is the plants. Now, none of the plants are doing poorly. In fact, some of them are growing too well. This one I've had to cut back, essentially completely cut back all the leaves, and then they've grown back very quickly. And this plant I think has grown a little, the Haworthia, and these two plants have grown quite a bit. One of them is sending out a pup in the back. You may not be able to see that. And this one is constantly sticking through the wire mesh up at the top, and we have to remove the leaves from the wire mesh. So the plants are doing all right. The only problem is this 20-gallon high is not tall enough for these plants, and I really wish we would have used a 29-gallon aquarium with the same footprint. It wouldn't have been a problem at all for the gecko. It just would have provided more height for the plants, an aesthetically more pleasing look, and it also would have allowed for the LED light to spread a little bit more throughout the tank. So that's really my only regret about the enclosure. Now, what about processing waste? That's really one of the key factors in a bioactive vivarium. Does it process waste properly? And yes, it does. As you can see, a little bit of urates are there. Occasionally I have had to remove urates. A lot of the times it seems that the bioactive cleanup crew takes care of that as well as the rest of the feces, but occasionally I do have to remove urates. If it doesn't look like the feces are being taken care of, it usually means that this area just needs a light misting. So I'll take a spray bottle and put some distilled water in that area, and then the cleanup crew gets to work. I think they need the area to remain somewhat humid for them to be able to properly process the waste. And most of the cleanup crew that I introduced disappeared quickly once I introduced them, but then I was wondering when they'd reappear. So I'll list the species that I introduced and then what I've seen since. So we introduced quite a few species: zebra pillbugs, powder blue isopods, dwarf purple or jungle micropods, springtails, they were silver springtails I believe, and mealworms. Now I'm going to lift the water bottle here, or sorry, the water dish, and we can see what we can find under there. And hopefully you can see right there. I'm going to move the light just a little bit, and you can see what we're looking at here. You can see some zebra pillbugs there retreating, and quite a few of them actually. I'll dig around a little bit in the substrate and we'll see what we can see. You can see quite a few springtails as well. I'm going to zoom in there just a bit so that you can see the springtails. So I have seen zebra pillbugs like these, obviously, and springtails, as well as some powder blue isopods running around the vivarium, and mealworms, both in the larval form, but mostly in the beetle form. And they seem to be an active part of the cleanup crew as well. I have not seen the dwarf purple or jungle micropods. I'm not particularly surprised about that. I imagine they are still here, but they're quite secretive and tend to burrow a lot, so they're probably in the enclosure, but I just don't tend to see them. So over the last 7 months, this bioactive enclosure for our leopard gecko has proven to be pretty effective. Why don't we give this gecko a snack? So we're going to give her a couple of calcium dusted crickets here. We dust her crickets with Repashy Calcium Plus, and of course we also give her mealworms, as you may have seen if you've watched other videos that we've done of Puggo. I'd like to try her on superworms sometimes. I bet she would enjoy those as well.
Oh, ow. Where'd it go?
You're going to run back there.
Ran into the tunnel. She might get it on her own.
She did. Looks like it. Though our leopard gecko is generally hand-fed, as you can see, she sometimes has occasion to hunt in the enclosure, and with this substrate we have never had any issues with impaction whatsoever. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I have quite a few other gecko videos, as well as videos on a variety of aquarium and vivarium pets, and I release them every Friday. Please feel free to share, comment, and
subscribe.
And then click the bell icon so you don't miss anything.